And suddenly, the United States announces sanctions against 2 of our oil companies. What was that about? Honestly, I have to say, to be completely honest, I truly did not even understand what was going on. So to accuse Mr. Witkoff of being too courteous with his Russian colleagues, there's nothing to accuse him of. But we talked, we met. Again, we met in Alaska, and then when our newly emerging relations were in perfect health, suddenly there are sanctions that, of course, destroy our relationship. That's how it really was. So in general, for us, it's still quite unclear and uncertain what kind of signal that actually was. Regarding these leaks, they could be fakes, or maybe they really are overheard conversations. Actually, eavesdropping is a criminal offense here, at least in our country. Eavesdropping is not allowed. Then some of them, maybe, as we joke here, they were told to spy, but instead they eavesdrop. They should mind their own business. But you also have to know how to spy properly. Let me explain what I mean. You see, I don't know the details of these wiretaps, the essence of these leaks. Well, you understand, you see, we get up here in the morning, and in the evening, right after all the events, I came straight to you. So, what is the problem there, in my opinion, in general? It's not about us. It's about how the struggle between different opinions is unfolding within the collective West and in the United States themselves regarding what is actually happening and what needs to be done to put an end to the war, to stop the fighting. For example, we met with Mr. Witkoff, he was given a corridor, and then I visited Alaska and certain discussions and negotiations were held. Overall, I want to emphasize that in general, I formed the opinion, at least for myself, that we had an understanding of where we stood and what needed to be done to stop these hostilities. Then we parted ways, since both my colleague, President Trump, and I said that we needed to return to our respective capitals, to think things over, consult with our respective staffs, ministries and agencies and allies, and after that we agreed to continue further. Lavrov and Blinken met in New York on the sidelines of the General Assembly. They had a general conversation, but there was no conflict between Russia and the United States on these issues. In other words, we remained on the Anchorage platform. And suddenly, the United States announces sanctions against 2 of our oil companies. What was that about? Honestly, I have to say, to be completely honest, I truly did not even understand what was going on. So to accuse Mr. Witkoff of being too courteous with his Russian colleagues, there's nothing to accuse him of. But we talked, we met. Again, we met in Alaska, and then when our newly emerging relations were in perfect health, suddenly there are sanctions that, of course, destroy our relationship. That's how it really was. So in general, for us, it's still quite unclear and uncertain what kind of signal that actually was specifically. That's the very first important point to consider. Second, Mr. Witkoff apparently is going to Moscow on President Trump's orders to negotiate with us. But it would probably be surprising if, in his conversations with Ushakov, he started cursing us out with foul language or said something like that. Was extremely polite, and then came and tried to establish relations with us to improve his negotiating position. But that's just nonsense. And I'm not even mentioning that Mr. Witkoff, apparently an intelligent person should already be creating some conditions for interpersonal communication. That's obvious. And finally, most importantly, I am actually acquainted with Mr. Witkoff. Over the course of several months, his friendship with President Trump has lasted for many, many years, maybe even decades. He is an American citizen, and he defends the position of his president and his country. Yes, we have a dialogue, and it's not an easy one. Yes, we conduct this dialogue without arguments, without spitting at each other like civilized people. But each of us defends our own position. And And Mr. Witkoff defends the position, I repeat, of the United States and the interest of the United States as he sees them. And as seen by those people who delegate him to negotiate with Russia, these people are not just President Trump. It seems to me that these are also people from the military, from the diplomatic corps, from the administrative bodies of the United States in the broadest sense of the word.